Time for our culture analysis. After 4 months of strike, Hollywood Actors Union has reached a deal with the studios. Does this mean everyone returns to work? And what about the big screen releases that happen amid, excuse me, my deepest apologies, the Marvels? I'm going to hand it over to Isaac because I'm coughing through this. Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning. Yes. Yeah, the news it's in the last 24 hours, I believe. It's big. It's fantastic. Yeah, it looked like it was coming to an end, and yesterday it did. And it looks like the interesting thing is that, a couple of weeks ago, Bob Iger was on an interview saying that when they kind of walked away, when the producers walked away and said that the actors were not being realistic, it seemed like it was a very kind of harsh criticism
from the Disney CEO.
Yeah. So some harsh criticism of the actors and the union. But yeah, nearly after 4 months, the president of the union, Fran Drescher, she tweeted out that this is a billion-plus deal. She put some of the details in her tweet, and Hollywood is a buzz right now trying to figure out maybe get more details. But it looks like the union's president is very happy, as well as the messaging coming out of the producers is also very positive. They called it a new paradigm. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be. We won't know till it gets actually reviewed and ratified and then made public. Okay. But for now, definitely it looks like it's done. The demands were met, and it looks like everyone's going to go back to work.
And we're just about a month away until the United States, let's be honest, starts celebrating the big holidays, right? From Thanksgiving into Christmas. And we alluded to the fact that things should be back in motion before that or after that.
Well, usually, yeah, you're right. During the holiday break, which is very long because of the kind of the consecutive holidays and the New Year and all that, this would be a time of the season where everything does slow down. And so I think that most people in the industry were already kind of ready for having no work or no news. But this is very good news, and it doesn't mean that everyone's going to go back into full production because everybody is winding down still. It's a traditional, it's a very large and very important traditional holiday, like our Korean Chuseok. Thanksgiving is, to some people, globally, Christmas is probably more well known, but locally in America, Thanksgiving is the biggest holiday of the year for the entire country because it's the only holiday where there is a 2-day holiday where it's Thursday and Friday that are, annualized as the holiday. And then, of course, there's the Black Friday and all the sales and the beginning of the Christmas season. It is very festive in a sense, right? Because you've got Halloween candy on sale with the turkeys being sold, and then Christmas ornaments coming up. So it's a very I don't think that work will be in full swing in the sense that everyone's going to go to work, but because of this positive news, I think that everybody will be looking forward to, getting back to work as soon as possible. So, it takes a lot of time, especially in production, because of the pre-production process and where are the writers standing, where the contracts are, and what deals are going to go forward. So, yeah, it is in full swing, but it won't look like that kind of because it's in full holiday swing.
All right. But so it will be back to usual, the holiday sort of schedules, right? But the fact of the matter is, because I coughed through the details of my opening today, after 4 months of strike, that's a really long time. In fact, a record-breaking one, these Hollywood Actors Union reaching a deal looks like a breakthrough, maybe for both the studios and the actors, because now we can walk away.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
All right. So let's take a look at some of the film releases that's getting a lot of attention. I think notably the Marvels. Some say that the ongoing strike made it really difficult to promote the film, The Marvels. You can imagine why the actors' hands would be tied when there's this massive strike going on. They just couldn't do it MCU scale, which is merchandise everywhere. Lots of red carpets, lots of flashes, lots of interviews. But maybe it was downsized to a certain certain extent, partially due to the ongoing strike. Nonetheless, the Marvels made its big screen debut. What has been the reaction been like so far? And was it actually relatively quiet for a Marvel release, or is that just what I feel with maybe the changed perception of theater experience due to the pandemic?
No, no. I mean, there is an impact of how the industry and the changing of the, after the pandemic, post-pandemic marketing and things. Yes, there was an impact. But what you're feeling is actually is very true. The amount of marketing that goes into a Marvel movie, is tremendous. And so for a film like this, and it's at the end of the day, it's a Disney film. So Disney is a huge, film distributor company that knows how to market, knows how to do merchandise, knows how to do and make a global event. But it's very difficult to do that when one of your most valuable assets, being the actors and the people who are representing the film, to human beings, the human beings in the film, in the very front lines of the film's marketing. If they're crippled or held back, as they have been for the last 4 months, and the 4 months is usually the time that this marketing campaign is activated. So before the strike, they were probably planning, okay, for this summer they're going to go to a world tour, going to this country, that country, and do this and that, and then the strike hit, and so all of that had to be kind of not only thrown away but like adjusted to what can we do. So it was it was a confusing time. And right now, I've seen a lot of criticism about this film. And it's interesting because the film, it releases this week. So way before the film is going to be released, way before critics even got to see it, there was so much drama, I guess, with it. And people have been saying like, oh, is this the death of the MCU?
Oh, wow.
Do we have superhero fatigue? I mean, there's a lot of, talk about what's going on. But I think it's because of the lack of activity that is expected from a Marvel film. So but some of the criticism I think is warranted. Definitely, there's the communication has not been very good, because nobody really wants to hear about their movie from like Bob Iger. People like
I like Bob Iger. I don't know what you're talking about.
People like to hear from Bob Iger about Disney, but if Bob Iger is telling you, "Hey, this new Marvel's movie is the best new movie," it's like, what? Like, But so that's why it's very important for these actors and the people that are like that represent the film on a like creative level, not on a business level,
right?
To really talk about, and that was a missing part of their entire ad campaign and initiative, the marketing initiative. So I think that's definitely more of a factor, but we can never, post-pandemic, we can't rule out the changes of the last few years.
So it's a combination of multiple things. Those two are the things that stick out to us, I think, most obviously. Now, it's funny because I imagined a parallel universe where instead of the actors and the directors and those involved in the creative process of movie making or TV drama making, it's the CEOs of the production companies coming out and be like, hey, watch our movie. It just sounds so anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's like, hey, watch my movie. I need to pay my bills. And it's like, yeah, obviously, but like it's a little bit too like, on your,
I think it says a mouthful about the marketing of these massive films. I mean, I guess it was always there when a superhero movie of this scale was released that it's sort of expected. I took it for granted. Like, yeah, of course you're going to talk it up. And when that presence is lacking, I guess that contrast is so big for me because we remember the Iron Mans, we remember the build up to the last Avengers.
Yeah, and
then the hype,
right now it was interesting. The comment I made earlier about Bob Iger saying that the actors' requests were not realistic, and it's like, I mean, it was at the time I was kind of laughing because there's no way that the actors are not going to get what they're asking for, right? In the world that we live in, like they're just they're doing this poker like based type of like dance. And so, I mean, thankfully it was only like, even though it was the longest, but like, they came back to, this was when they left the negotiating table. So, thankfully they came back to the negotiating table and, I saw this outcome. The outcome was inevitable. It's just, when was it going to happen? And I'm really glad that it was before Thanksgiving. So, because right now a lot of people are hurting. And this is not just, this argument and this battle over like, pay is a kind of a global, it's connected globally. It's connected, it represents a lot of other industries as well. So, I mean, I'm sure you've heard, but like there's other unions that are now striking for fair wages because there's been a lot of injustice or like
maybe an imbalance of who gets such a big chunk of pie, right?
Yeah, in the entire labor industry.
All right. Before we run out of time, let's get to the Marvels.
Again, we're out of time?
No. Before we run out, I really want to get to this movie because, I mean, despite the ongoing criticism, it's still an MCU film. For those of you yet to watch the film or even the trailer or hear about it, thanks to the muted sort of PR process, can you tell us a little bit about the Marvels and its plot?
Okay, so we if you've seen the first movie, Carol Danvers, she's Captain Marvel, and she went on this adventure where she reclaimed her identity and like took out the enemy, and then got real. I don't want to spoil the first film, but like we had enough time to see it. After she takes revenge on, gets her revenge, and like, yay, good job. The unintended consequences of that is kind of what this movie is about. So there was a destabilization of the universe because she kind of went and disrupted, the supreme intelligence and the supreme powers, right? So what this happens, there's like a wormhole, and then there's the other characters in it are all kind of in the Marvels family, and their powers are kind of linked, and so their powers entangled and get them in kind of a funny mess, which they have to unravel and fix. So the universe is broken because of Captain Marvel's fight to overcome, her enemy, and now they got to fix it. They're picking up the pieces, and these new characters that are being added are all parts of the Marvel universe that are connected in different ways. They're connected in Disney shows like on Disney Plus, other films. They were minor characters, some of them, and because they're not like the main heroes, right. A lot of them have side stories that people are not aware of or don't know about. So. Right. There's a lot of like fun events that are taking place that this movie's about.
So, I mean, if you're keeping up, it certainly sounds like a treat for the fans. But I think in your description of the movie in itself, it poses sort of this double-edged sword because it's complicated. And it feels like if you haven't been keeping up with maybe the Disney TV shows, like the spinoffs and some of the previous movies, you might be lost in the first few minutes of the movie anyway. I'm sure they designed it so you can keep up, but it'd be more fun if you watch the other spin-off shows. Now, getting to Park Seo-joon's role, because that poster created so much buzz. What's wrong with his hair? Did they really know how to utilize Park Seo-joon? This director says she watched Itaewon Class and fell in love with the actor and hired him. So why doesn't she know how to work the Park Seo-joon magic? That's some of the criticism that's happening. I also read the Straits Times writing this morning, Park's appearances is less than the time needed to cook cup noodles. So it's short. His appearance is really brief. So maybe we need to manage fan expectations. This character he plays, Prince Yan, why does it seem to be divisive?
Okay, so 2 minutes, 47 seconds. That's
You're kidding. Someone timed it?
So if you're looking for Park Seo-joon in this movie, you're going to, you got 2 minutes and 47 seconds to soak it in. Okay. But Prince Yan, in the comic books, so I have yet to see the film, but Prince Yan in the comic books is the love interest, the husband of Carol Danvers. So, lots of fans, they were unhappy about it, but the run up to it and people who know anything about the comics or people who know anything about him were very excited. I think there was too high of an expectation going into it, which kind of was deflated by the data, right? The news. Now, since we haven't seen it, I think we should reserve judgment about whether it's his performance, or some people are like, why is he singing? There's this kind of stuff going on, right? Or it's because the marketing that they chose, the director said she told them there was moments where the talents that he has are very broad. And in the Marvel universe, there's, right now we're in this kind of I told you, the universe is broken and jumbled up. Right. And things are going on. There's going to be weird things going on in this film. So the weirdness is part of this film's kind of central core. Okay. And so, it might look like a cameo, but as you've seen in a lot of Marvel films, even small cameos are connected to different shows. So I don't think this is the last of him that we've seen. So to think of it as this is just the first appetizer, that 2-minute 47 cup of ramyun or noodles, and then we're going to get more of him later on.
I love that. All right. And like our listeners are chiming in, it's amazing how many people can review things before the release. I think you're right. Unless you're the press who got the exclusive screening beforehand, I think maybe reserving judgment before you watch it, that's a good way to approach this thing. Just managing everyone's expectations, because once we started seeing the headlines and the posters, it felt like his part would be, it would just require more screen time to satisfy the fans' appetite. But anyway, maybe this sets a tone for further spin-offs. We'll wait and see. Now, pushing for diversity has been a positive change in Hollywood. That's undeniable. And I don't think anyone is saying that's a bad thing. However, are we seeing some pitfalls in affirmative action hires, not just in this film, but maybe in similar projects?
I mean, yeah, that is a very big part of the criticism right now, that the expectations, and maybe it's coming to managing expectations, but some of these films that are not as popular or not as well received or not as financially successful,
right?
They're being led by directors who are of minorities. They're female directors. Right now, this film Marvels is a Black female director who's the youngest director to direct a film in the MCU. So. Very huge shift, right? And because the MCU is such a huge franchise, we've seen stuff where they've done experiments with like new types of storytelling, going from film to TV to like shorts, even like doing animated stuff, doing live action. But if you look at all the kind of, quote unquote, affirmative action that took place, there is the negative that you can look at, and you can always be critical. But I thought about this, and I remembered, hey, Black Panther, Shang-Chi, like Moon Knight, She-Hulk. These are all like stories that I kind of were like not very familiar with, even though I grew up watching, or reading the comic books. And so you've got these characters that are coming from all parts of the world. When it was news that like Black Panther was shooting in Busan, I was like, what? Like, for other people, they'd probably be like, Busan, what's Busan? Like in Korea? Like, why are they shooting? So there's a lot of this kind of activity, this affirmative action activity where there's diversity. And it's been a goal of Hollywood. And I think that Marvel, being such a huge franchise, kind of leading that as a leader of diversity and bringing a lot of kind of change, it's going to be different, and people sometimes don't like different, right?
We like familiar things, don't we?
We like familiar things. So exactly. So if they're used to like, maybe your favorite director is like, the Oppenheimer director, like Christopher Nolan, right? Like if Christopher Nolan is your favorite director and you want every film to be by Christopher Nolan, like, you watch another film by a new director, you might be like, whatever, like, because you have your tastes.
Yeah.
But with a huge franchise like this, showing or giving other voices a chance to be creative, I think is very important. And a result of that I'm looking forward to. There's a character a very relatively new character called Amadeus Cho. Have you know about this guy?
What?
Amadeus Cho. He's a Korean American character in the comic books, and he's going to be the main character in an upcoming show called Spider-Man Freshman Year. So there is an actual legit like Korean American, not like a Korean actor playing a character that is, like of any race.
Okay.
Like, I don't think like Don, in the Eternals, right? Don's character, Don Lee's character was supposed to be Korean, right? It didn't have to be. It was, Gilgamesh is supposed to be a very strong character. Like that's the only description. But here we've got characters that are like specifically Korean American, or this kind of new stories coming and these new voices. I think is very interesting, and I think instead of the pitfalls, I think this is really good for our industry.
Okay, that's a good cliffhanger to leave today's segment on. Thank you so much, Isaac. We'll see you again soon.
All right, have a good one.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.